Hi, I'm Blake, and this is Between the Lines, a new music podcast where we talk to up-and-coming musical artists from New York and beyond. This is a podcast by musicians, for the love of music. Today, we're talking to Roan Zen Martin. Roan gives insights into his own musical realm, describing his 2022 single, The Fool, and telling us more about this story he has created himself. His newest single, What's Your Hurry, is now available on all streaming platforms, so go check that out.
I'm Roan Zen Martin. I'm a New Paltz-based musician, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Multi-instrumentalist, producer, singer-songwriter. I play the piano mostly. Sometimes I play the fool.
Okay, my first question today is, what is your intention and purpose in the music and art you create?
I think a lot of times I'm looking to create music that I wish existed just to listen to. I think I'm very much a product of my inspirations, and I like to kind of live in the shadow of my inspiration, so to speak. So I listen to a lot of music, and I kind of want to be a part of that.
Awesome. How does your music production satisfy you and your mental health?
Oh boy, I'm someone whose head is constantly full of thoughts, and they can be sometimes very disorganized. And I think music production specifically, if we're talking outside of just songwriting, the act of putting the music together and doing all the technical things is an area in which I feel very much in command and very much able to organize my thoughts. I think I find like a lot of satisfaction in putting all the pieces together in a very organized way. It feels like getting my ducks in a row when they're so often not.
What drives you to continue your creation and productivity, or what inspires your songwriting process?
I would say what inspires my songwriting process is definitely other people's songwriting. Again, I very much consider myself just a product of my inspirations, really. Usually the times I find myself most inspired are immediately after witnessing somebody else's work. That, again, that it feels like they've created a world and a world that means so much to me. I want to step into that world. I want to be a part of that. And for me, songwriting is a way that I can join that world.
You have a 2022 single titled The Fool. Would you be able to tell me what your inspiration was behind writing this song? And what does this song mean to you or say about you as an artist?
One thing not a lot of people know about The Fool is it's actually a prequel to a much larger story that I wanted to tell. I would say the story is kind of this like a little fantasy that I've dreamed up that represents some parts of my life and some parts are more exaggerated. But I think I was at a point in my life writing The Fool where I felt like I was about to take a sort of leap of faith, if you will. Obviously, it was inspired by tarot. I'm very much into tarot cards, and The Fool is a card that's always resonated with me a lot because it represents a character at the precipice of something, about to make a very life-altering decision, kind of like on the edge of a cliff. So playing the fool sometimes means doing the thing that isn't rational but you know is right.
I've heard of somewhere just beyond my life so far, of worlds entangled up with my desire. But within reason, with great care, without the neighbor's car, I only make it halfway every time. Potential's much better. You go all in and you can never dream what could happen had you opened up that door. You'll see, don't you know, darling, it's trouble out there. Gotta know what you're doing, but I don't really care to be a wise man anymore. You've got to play the fool sometimes, and I don't want to be selfish, but maybe you're helpless to save me if you're the one drawing the lines. I'm trying to step right so I'm leaving you with my letters. If it makes you feel better, I feel like you're coming along. asking why they don't get past the door. So it doesn't really matter if I'm right or I am wrong. The right ways never seem to work before. But you'll say, baby, you're gonna burn out. You'll learn someday life punishes the brave. They don't like it once you've left the world they knew. You'll say, don't you know, baby, it's bad out there. The world's out to get you. But I can see how far that your wisdom's gotten you. You've got to play the fool sometimes. And I don't wanna be selfish, but maybe you're helpless to see me if you're the one drawing the lines and trying to stand right through. So I'm leaving you with my letters that makes you feel better. Feel just the color and love of the lies you get to play the fool.
Very interesting. How does your creative style align with what you wish to inspire, and how does your style specifically stand out from others?
I think a lot of my style isn't intentional and is really a byproduct of just my process and what I sound like when I open my mouth. I don't think I didn't intentionally try to create a style for myself. I didn't try to be anything really. I think that was all just a byproduct. But I'd say there's kind of like this small community of rock and roll pianists, and I know Ben Folds and Elton John speak about this a lot in their books, where in order to be a piano player in rock and roll, you kind of got to abuse your instrument a little bit to keep up with the drummers and the guitarists. So I think that definitely influenced my sound a lot, because I think there's less people playing piano specifically in the style that I like to play. Otherwise, I think I'm specific to myself in the same way any other artist is. I really just tell the stories that I know that are inspired by my life, and play the only way I know how to play.
What do you hope to do for those you share your art with? Is there any specific audience you wish to engage?
There really isn't any specific audience I'm hoping to reach out to. It's really anybody who's able to pull something from it. But I know specific things really make me happy. But like I've heard of people even like being inspired by my songs and wanting to cover them, or even just write their own music, and have like almost been inspired to get into certain things by hearing my music. And if I can do that for people, then that's just mind-blowing. That's a really new idea to me, the fact that people could not only listen, but also it can go further than that and create other music. And because that's exactly how I started. It was hearing other people's music and wanting to do that. So the fact that the legacy continues is amazing.
What is a prominent struggle that your music has directly helped you overcome?
I'd say the very act of doing music is kind of a scary thing, and especially when I feel like so invested and so much like there is no other path for me in life. I really don't feel like I have an option other than to be a musician and to do this full time. It's the only thing I want to do, and that is a scary place to be in, because everybody knows it's a kind of risky business to get into. So that, I think, being on that knife's edge of whether I commit fully or not, and then ultimately realizing I don't have a choice in that matter, was a frightening revelation. And I think a lot of my music is speaking about that decision specifically. Like The Fool, as you mentioned, is about being on the cusp of that decision, and I think that's further explored in the following album that precedes The Fool.
What is one thing that you wish you knew early on in your journey as an artist?
One thing. I have billions. I mean, there's so much. Technically, I wish I could just like grab a younger version of myself and be like, here's the difference between mic level and line level, or like, what is the difference between analog and digital when it's all just electricity running through wires? These are things like very technical things like that, or even don't hook up the wrong wires in your microphone and potentially risk blowing up a capsule. That was only, if I could tell myself from a couple months ago, that I would have saved myself a whole lot of headaches. I think I'm constantly learning, and I'm at the point now where I feel like I've learned so much that I realize I know nothing. That there was I got confident for a bit, and then I learned some more and immediately realized I really don't know anything, and I will be learning for the rest of my life. This is a practice in an industry that's just got so much to it. So it's hard to think of a specific thing. I'd say one thing that I would like to tell my former self is the importance of streamlining the process. I don't think I ever realized that until a little later in my life, but making it so that I had all the tools available to say the things I want to say is something that I only figured out in the past, maybe 3 or so years, is like how important setting up your space and your creative space is. I'd say ever since I really streamlined my process and set up a space to create my art in, I've felt more comfortable creating that art. I felt like if I had an idea, I could make it happen without barriers. And I know that's kind of a luxurious place to be, but I would say that whatever that means for any given person, you should obviously do your music on with some of your time, and that other time you should focus on crafting that kind of space for yourself.
Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to share, add?
Yeah, I guess I'd just say it's an interesting time to be an artist. Like, obviously every time is an interesting time to be an artist, but I think especially right now, it is so important for voices to be heard and for people to create things. I think creation is resistance, creation is hope, and God knows we need both of those things. Creating art feels trivial because there's nothing more to it than how it can make people feel, but I think that is really the most important thing. If you can make people feel inspired, if you can make people feel hopeful, even feel solace in their sadness and their despair, that is incredibly powerful. And I think it's incredibly important right now, especially in the era of AI. It can be easy to think, there's too much art out there, and that's just simply not the case. Every story needs to be told, and AI won't tell your story. Whatever your medium is, it's never too late to learn an instrument. It's never too late to get started. Just because there's people who are more experienced is no reason not to do something. Do all the bad things, be bad, create bad art. I mean, God knows you gotta create bad art before you create good art. I'd say just create.
This has been Between the Lines, the podcast for musicians by musicians. Thank you for listening.